Gearbest asked me if I would like to review the JGAurora A5 3D printer. So I said why not? I actually asked if I could review a different printer, but they were really just looking after reviews for this printer. So I wasn't expecting much, it looked good on the website, but who knows. Unboxing it, everything seemed very good quality. What surprised me? A full aluminium body with nice rubber feet, good cable management, and nearly everything came pre-assembled. You should probably know that I'm not your 3D printing expert. I'm a beginner and I don't have 20 printers in my room that I could compare this printer to. But I would argue that this is good, because this printer looks like it's for beginners that don't want to spend 20 hours assembling a bunch of tiny parts only to repair it every time they use it. Looking at you, broken, dirty, cheap China printer I wasted 200 euros on. There are very good other reviews online, and I will link some of them that I watched and I found very useful. If you're just looking for a review that goes fully into the specs of each little part, from the cabling to the display module, maybe go and watch a different review, please. I'm just going to talk about my personal experience with this printer here. So I was happy to receive this printer. I assembled it, which was very nice, just 4 screws on the bottom side, and I looked up what is on the included USB stick. They also included a replacement nozzle and a piece of plastic paper to level the bed. The JGAurora software it comes with only worked after copying it on my PC and renaming the file. It works, but it's basically just an older and more simplified version of Cura. I researched a bit and found the unofficial wiki for this printer. They recommend to copy the profiles from the JGAurora software and paste it into an up-to-date version of Cura. I also downloaded the new Marlin firmware for this printer from the same website and flashed it. Then I leveled the bed from the display menu, which is very easy, and started printing. The filament sensor on this printer has a little bug. The 3-pin JST connector that only uses 2 cables can shorten out on the 2x3 row pin header on the board. The printer thinks it's out of filament and doesn't continue printing. That's why it starts beeping. To fix it, you have to remove a cable and plug it in the other way around. Pretty simple when you know it. And then, finally, I printed something and the results were okay. Not what I expected after watching the other reviews about this printer, but definitely not bad either. I tried to tweak some settings, but it seemed to have little effect. Bigger prints seem to fail often, so I printed with a brim or raft. After a lot of frustration, I found out that the build plate is not completely flat. It is uneven, and that's why the prints are failing. Thanks to the YouTuber Dahai, I was able to use a feature in Marlin called Mesh to generate a grid of the build plate that helps to compensate the height differences while printing. It's pretty simple to do actually, but annoying. But once done properly, you get way better bed adhesion and first layers. I will also link the video to that tutorial in the video description. Thanks to the grid it generated, I now know that the height difference on different points of the bed are 0.4 mm. Around 0.1 mm would be less of a problem, but 0.4 is really too much. Without the grid, I would never be able to level it properly. Because the level assistant on the display menu only goes to the corners, and my build plate is definitely much higher in the middle where it's actually printing. I asked Gearbest if they could send me a replacement and they said yes. So I will make a follow-up video when I receive my new build plate. And if you get an bended or unflat build plate, try to get a replacement from wherever you bought the printer. One problem with the build plate is that the glass plate it's using is actually glued onto the bed. So you can't just replace the glass plate, you have to replace the whole bed. That's really annoying, and I'm not sure why they did that, because they included little clips that made it look like the glass plate is held with these little clips on the bed and you can easily swap them out, but no, the glass plate and the bed are glued together. By the way, you want to clean the build plate with a bit of alcohol before you print. Not much, just a bit. The adhesion from this special textured black diamond build plate should be good for most prints. Only if you have very big prints with small grounds, you maybe want to print with a raft or brim. The build plate itself is already sufficient enough when heated up, so using hairspray or other tricks can work, but they only made the adhesion worse for me. Just clean the build plate and it should be good. I also leveled the whole desk my printer is sitting on, which also had a little impact on the details of the print. So just that you know, it can help. But yet I still couldn't get very good results. I had stringing issues. Yes, the Bowden extruder requires a high retraction speed and distance in the slicer settings, and even though I used the recommended settings from the wiki, I had huge issues with it. So I highly recommend to print a retraction test. Before you don't have good settings to fix the stringing, you will not get any high quality prints, not with this printer at least. By the way, the fans that are on the printer can be a bit annoying. The blower fan on my printer makes a very high-pitched noise, but by lowering the fan speed, it becomes bearable. I tried to find better replacement fans, but that's not easy because those fans are 30mm 24-volt fans, and those are not very common. One thing you should really upgrade from the beginning is the fan duct. It doesn't make the fans less noisy, but helps cooling the print and improving the quality a lot. But keep in mind you want to print it with PETG and not PLA, as it doesn't take the heat very well. I will leave a link in the description on where you can download that 3D model. The printer itself is not very quiet, but also not too loud. There are much louder printers out there. 3D printing in general is a noisy thing. But you can upgrade the stepper motor drivers and try to get replacement for the fans, and you would have a very silent printer. The display UI has some very helpful features, like changing the filament is super easy, you can even do it while it's printing, you can adjust the fan speeds, pausing and resuming a print, changing the print speed and temperature, and see the progress on the whole print of course. Those little things are very helpful for a beginner, and it saves you time, so I really came to like those little things. The printer comes with a USB connector instead of a SD card slot. So you can print from a PC directly or from a USB stick. Talking about handy features, this printer can detect when you're running out of filament and you can easily change it on the go while you're printing without any hassle. It also has a power outage protection, so you can easily resume printing, but only as long as the bed is still heated, because once it's cooled down, it loses its adhesion and your print will probably fail. Talking about the bed, the black diamond texture, that's how they call it, is very nice. At around 60 degrees for PLA, the prints are sticking strongly to the plate, but once it's cooled down a bit, you can remove the prints like it was nothing. In conclusion, this printer is indeed very high quality, especially if you consider that you can buy it for around $300. Okay, that is also depending on where you buy it and where you live, but what I've seen is that most of the components, except the annoying fan on my printer, are better than what you would expect in a printer at that price range. The software and firmware, however, are terrible, but thanks to the growing community, it's not hard to find infos online and update the printer to the newest firmware and get the most out of it. That's a huge plus. So it's not a plug-and-play printer that I hoped for, but it's also not a full DIY printer. It's something in between. You can still mod and upgrade it, the case is not meant for that, but it's fairly simple and offers enough space, so just be creative. Repairing this machine should also not be very complicated. You can buy most replacement parts online anyway. It can produce high quality prints if you found the correct settings and has a very big build plate. If you want to buy this as your first printer and don't know anything about 3D printing, this might be a bit frustrating, but you will have the same experience with most other printers. Unless you buy something more expensive with better software support and predefined profiles and all that stuff. But even there you would be spending a lot of time tweaking, but I guess you would be less confused and frustrated. This printer at least makes some things so much easier with the touch display and the adhesive build plate. I really came to appreciate those little things, and I think they will help a beginner a lot. So I would say for $500 or more, you should consider other printers too. But if you get it for around $300, then yes, that's a great machine for that price. It all comes down to what you want, because the big build plate also means a big printer. This thing is nothing small. But you should also know that this printer definitely needs fine-tuning to get working perfectly. And you might want to buy Simplify 3D as it has better or at least easier options to tweak the retraction settings, while other printers come with a user-friendly software that already produces good quality prints. But to be fair, if you want to get the most of your printer, you will always have to tweak the settings and try different softwares. I just wish JGAurora would make a few things better with the next revision of this printer. For example, don't glue the glass plate onto the bed. So having an uneven glass plate would be less of a problem. Breaking the glass plate would be less of a problem. But now, if you break it or anything happens to it, you have to replace the whole bed, and that's not cheap, right? So that's really annoying. Another thing is the fans. They could include better fans that are less noisy, maybe bigger fans, because 30 millimeters, 24 volts, just not very common. It's not easy to find replacements, but I bought some, and I think Gearbest want to send me some replacement fans as well. So if I make a follow-up video and I receive all the stuff, then we will look at that again. But for now, please JGAurora, do something about the fans. It's not something expensive or anything, but yeah. What I really wish for this printer, which is not included, is an auto level function. Come on, other printers are already doing that, and it's not that hard, it's not that expensive, and it could just do the whole mesh grid thing with Marlin automatically. Just add a little sensor so the 3D printer can measure the height differences on the bed automatically, generate the grid, and counter the whole bended bed thing automatically, and you wouldn't even notice if the bed is not even completely. But now I had to figure it out myself, which took a lot of time because I'm a noob and I didn't know any better, and I found out, and then I had to do this whole grid generating thing manually, which also took a lot of work, and it's just annoying. And if they could just include a little sensor, update the firmware, it would be fixed. It's not that much work. Another thing is, please JGAurora, plug in the filament sensor correctly, okay? Because unpacking the printer, trying to start the first print, and this thing starts beeping like there is no tomorrow is really confusing. And sure, it's just a matter of plugging in the connector the other way around. But yeah, it's just a matter of plugging in the connector the other way around. So why don't you do it? I don't get that. Why do I have to do that? Anyway, upgrade the fan duct would also be great, because the included one is okay and probably better than on some other printers. But yeah, you want to print an upgrade to it because that makes a huge difference, and they could just also include a better one. So yeah, the print quality of this printer is very good, but you might need to invest quite some time to find the correct settings. Although it makes a lot of things very easy, it's still not your plug-and-play printer as other reviewers let it seem like. I'm still trying to solve some heating issues, but despite that, it's already printing very good. I was able to fix some of the heating issues now by printing 2 models at the same time, but that's not optimal, but that shows that the problem is in fact overheating and can be fixed. I will probably buy Simplify 3D as it has more advanced options to counter such little things. But after all, it's quite an affordable printer, so you can't expect the quality of something that costs over $1,000. But it's keeping up very good. Maybe the thermistor isn't working correctly. I saw other people complaining about that, so I replaced it, and it gave some improvement, but didn't fix it completely. Luckily, thermistors are cheap and easy to replace, at least if you can solder. If you're interested in this printer, I added an affiliate link in the description. When you purchase over it, you will also support this channel. I will put a little to-do list in the video description as well, that will help you when you just received your new printer. Thanks for watching and have a nice day.